Emily, I'm planning to stay over at my parents' house this coming weekend. When my husband suddenly mentioned this, I asked him what was going on. Actually, it's my parents' wedding anniversary. It's their 40th anniversary this year, so I thought we should celebrate this special occasion. Really? Then I should come too, right? I thought about that, but it's their wedding anniversary, not a birthday or anything. I'd feel bad making you come. Especially with your hectic schedule, Emily. Upon checking, I realized that I would be off a night shift that day, so I decided to take my husband's advice to rest this time. Our relationship with my in-laws is good, they always look out for us. I'll think of something to celebrate with them later. But I'll sit this one out. My name is Emily. I'm 32 years old and work as a nurse. Ken and I met 3 years ago and have been married for 2 years. Though it feels like we've been together for a long time, when compared to my in-laws' 40 years, we're just starting out. My in-laws are a close-knit couple, often going out for walks hand in hand. For me, whose parents are divorced, they are the ideal couple. I hope Ken and I can share such moments together someday. On Friday, Ken came back home with some shopping. Tomorrow, I'm going to cook at my parents'. Ken, who enjoys cooking, was excited. Unlike me, who is happy as long as I get to eat, Ken always strives to make delicious meals. We usually take turns cooking, and Ken's meals are indeed tasty. But of course, good ingredients make good food. However, he leaves not just the cooking utensils and pots to be cleaned up but also the dishes after we eat, all to me. I've repeatedly asked him to help with the cleanup, but I just can't seem to get through. Make sure you don't leave the cleanup to your mother, okay? It would be unfair to her to be left with the mess, especially during a celebration. When I mentioned this, Ken just brushed it off with a nonchalant, okay. I was a bit irritated, but I managed to say, please give my regards to your dad and mom. Before I started preparing for my night shift and left the house. The next day, after finishing my night shift and coming home, I was woken up by the ringtone of my phone. I looked at the screen and saw that it was a call from my father-in-law. It was unusual because I was expecting my husband to be at his parents' house, and it's typically my mother-in-law who gets in touch. Picking up, I heard his panicked voice. Emily. Kathy has collapsed. What should I do? What? Kathy is my mother-in-law. I immediately got up and started asking questions. She had collapsed suddenly and was feeling hot. Given the season, it might be heat stroke. Since she seemed to be in and out of consciousness, I advised him to call an ambulance and to let me know where they would be taking her. I hurried to my in-laws' house, which was about a 40-minute drive away. I tried calling Ken on the way, but he didn't answer, and there was no call back. So I gave up on reaching him and received a call from my father-in-law instead. It seemed like heat stroke after all, and she had been taken by ambulance. Upon arriving at the hospital, I found my father-in-law there. He told me that my mother-in-law wasn't in serious condition and was currently receiving an IV, so we headed to her room. By the way, where's Ken? Is he in the room? My father-in-law looked puzzled. I thought he was with you. I tried calling Ken first, but couldn't get through, so then I called you, thinking Ken was driving. Hearing this, I also frowned in confusion. But Ken went over to your place, right? Now it was my father-in-law's turn to frown. For a while, we exchanged puzzled looks as we walked, but our conversation was interrupted when we reached the hospital room. Kathy, I'm so relieved it's nothing serious. Saying this, my usually energetic mother-in-law smiled weakly. Sorry to trouble you. Were you working today? I had a night shift yesterday and was just at home. And where's Ken? At work? I was taken aback when my mother-in-law asked that. He said he was going out to cook for your anniversary. The three of us exchanged glances. Feeling something was off, I called my husband again, and this time he answered. Thank goodness. Where are you right now? His response was unbelievable. I'm at my parents' house, cooking and doing my filial duty. I could even hear the sound of chopping in the background over the phone. I quickly covered up my surprise. Oh, right, I must have been half asleep. Sorry. You must be tired from work. I told them you'd be at work, so just take it easy and rest. My husband claims to be at his parents' house. But both of my in-laws are right in front of me. So, who exactly is my husband cooking for, and where? Could he be cheating? He never showed any signs of that, did he? I tried to recall any evidence. But nothing conclusive came to mind. At most, his late returns had increased, and I once found a convenience store receipt for beer and alcoholic drinks. My husband only drinks beer, so why the alcoholic drinks? When I asked, he said he bought drinks with a colleague to vend after work. Which I accepted. That alone wasn't solid proof. While I was pondering this, my concerned father-in-law came out of the room. Is something wrong? Is Ken coming? Oh, it seems he had some urgent work and had to go to the office. There might have been some trouble, and he might not be able to come home today. I lied on the spot. I see. Sorry to trouble you, Emily. It looks like everything is okay now, so you should go home and rest, my father-in-law said. So I nodded and headed home. Even if my husband is cheating, what should I do? Perhaps it's better to pretend not to know if he returns. I love my husband, and we get along well with his parents. He's always concerned about me, my work, and my health. Worried, I went home and decided to snoop around a bit in my husband's room. But there was nothing out of the ordinary there, as I often go in and out of that room myself. Returning to the living room, I noticed the computer. I have my own laptop, so I never use this one. Maybe I'll find something there. Checking the internet history, I saw he had been browsing travel sites. He was researching hotels with kitchens. So, was that why he was stocking up on groceries? To take them on a trip with his mistress? Yet, I hadn't fully doubted my husband until then. Today's events could have been just a gathering with friends. Feeling guilty about having fun while I was working, he might have lied about going to his parents' house. That thought crossed my mind, but it crumbled the next moment. There was a bookmark for a site where you could save photos. Reluctantly, I looked and found decisive evidence of the affair. There were numerous photos of my husband with a woman, at date spots, amusement parks, and on trips. Some photos even showed them naked. And it had started right after we got married. This meant I had been deceived by my husband for 2 years. After realizing this, I knew I couldn't continue living as if nothing had happened. I also found their email exchanges. One shocking discovery was that the mistress's birthday was the same as mine. Comparing the emails and photos, it was clear he had gifted her jewelry and watches. For my birthday. He gave me an apron to make chores easier and a cookbook to improve my cooking skills, a stark contrast to the lavish gifts for his mistress. Moreover, it was not me but his mistress who was celebrated on her birthday. Despite my often conflicting schedule due to night shifts, I never imagined that the mistress was being prioritized. My feelings for my husband took a 180-degree turn. This mistress was a junior colleague at his company. She was the woman who attended our wedding and exclaimed, "I share the same birthday as you." Looking through the emails, it seemed like the mistress was the one who made the initial approach, but my husband had easily taken the bait. Finding an email where he mentioned not intending to divorce me because I had a decent income and took care of him without complaints when he was sick, I couldn't stay silent any longer. I decided to divorce him. I took photos of the evidence on the computer with my phone for safekeeping. Realizing it was already late at night, I decided to sleep on it. The next day, I looked for a divorce lawyer but had no idea who to choose. As I was pondering alone, the doorbell rang. Startled, thinking it might be my husband, I found my mother-in-law at the door instead. I invited her in, surprised. She had recovered after the IV and returned home yesterday. She had come to thank me, bringing a gift. Talking with my mother-in-law made me feel sad. It was heartbreaking to think I would have to part ways with such wonderful in-laws. My mother-in-law then offered her support. "If there's anything, feel free to talk to me." Moved by her kindness, I spilled everything. I worried she might get angry hearing such things about her son, but she said, "Is that true?" Unforgivable. When I showed her the evidence of the affair, she became even more enraged. Affairs make no one happy. How could Ken do this? Then, she made an unexpected proposal. "Emily, pack your things and come to our house." What? As I stood there stunned, she started calling someone. It seemed to be my father-in-law. She was asking him to clear a room in their house. Encouraged by my mother-in-law, I began packing my belongings. I only needed a change of clothes and my computer for now. We decided to move the bigger items later, so I loaded my car with my belongings and drove to my in-laws' house with my mother-in-law. My father-in-law greeted us upon arrival. As we entered the living room, I saw an unfamiliar woman sitting there. I wondered who she might be when my father-in-law explained she was a lawyer he had asked a friend to contact. It seems my mother-in-law had called her just after speaking on the phone earlier. We really need to act quickly in situations like this. My father-in-law seemed somewhat proud of taking swift action. In front of my in-laws, I explained to the lawyer that I wanted a divorce and to seek alimony. Though I was barely keeping up with the rapid developments, stating my intentions out loud helped me solidify my resolve. The thought that my husband treated me as a cash cow while ridiculing me with his mistress made my blood boil. My in-laws were also furious about my husband's actions. That evening, I received a call from home. "Where are you? My phone got water damaged, sorry I couldn't contact you." Hearing my husband's voice instantly fueled my anger. "I've moved out. Decide now whether you'll stay or move out too. I'll collect my things within the week." This sent my husband into a panic. "What are you talking about? What's going on?" His words only made me angrier. "Cheating on me, and you ask what's going on?" Confused, my husband started to ramble. "Cheating? Me? Why? How?" It seemed he was wondering how he got caught. Then, my mother-in-law took the phone from me. "Come back home right now." "Huh? Mom? What?" Ignoring my confused husband, I hung up. In less than an hour, my husband arrived at his parents' house. "Emily. What's going on? Why are you here?" He rushed in through the door, to which I sighed in response. "How was your homemade meal at the hotel with your mistress?" At my words, my husband turned pale. "You had the nerve to say you were celebrating your parents' 40th anniversary with a homemade meal. Meanwhile, your mother was in trouble. And you were leisurely traveling with your mistress. What? What happened to you, Mom?" My father-in-law then stepped in and yelled. "Kathy was taken by an ambulance. We tried to contact you multiple times. Today is the last day you set foot in this house. Once this discussion is over, don't ever show your face here again. And the car you drove here, I want it back, it's still in my name." My father-in-law snatched the car keys from my husband. Knowing that my husband, who commutes by car, would be in a lot of trouble without it, I was aware of the inconvenience it would cause him. Internally, I couldn't help but think, serves him right. My mother-in-law also chimed in, "Cheating is shameful. We know everything. We are on Emily's side, not yours." The lawyer had already left, so I expressed my intention to divorce directly. My husband was panicking, his face pale. "Divorce? I can't accept that." "Why?" "I helped around the house, I even cooked." His desperate state only elicited a sigh from me. "Helping around the house? You mean taking out the trash and putting away folded laundry? You don't even know how to use the washing machine. And have you ever cleaned the bathroom or toilet?" "But I cooked." His words made my blood boil. "You say you cooked, but completing the cooking includes cleaning up afterward. You just cook using fancy ingredients and expect praise for how delicious it is, but of course, it's delicious. Think about the grocery budget when you cook." At that, my husband lashed out. "What? My cooking is far better than yours. Cleaning up is quick, right? Cooking is the hard part. She enjoyed my cooking and thanked me for it yesterday." She undoubtedly referred to his mistress. Well, of course she would enjoy the meal without any stress, since it's in a hotel kitchen where she doesn't have to clean up. She's eating luxurious ingredients bought with our money. My husband shouted back, angered by my comment. "Fine, then let's get divorced. I'm done with you." Saying so, he stormed out of the entrance. However, since my father-in-law had taken his car keys, my husband reluctantly started walking away. His departing figure looked pitiful. The next day, I canceled my bank account that had been used for withdrawing living expenses. I refused to pay for rent, electricity, gas, or water bills with my money anymore. I sent the divorce oath to my husband and demanded a substantial settlement and alimony. Fueled by anger, my husband has agreed to the division of assets and alimony. He had to pay in one lump sum, which apparently exceeded his savings, forcing him to borrow from a consumer finance company. When I went to collect my belongings later, I noticed unfamiliar luggage, possibly indicating that the mistress had moved in. But that was no longer my concern. Of course, I also demanded alimony from the mistress through my lawyer. A month later, my ex-husband called. I'm getting bills for rent and utilities. Ah, he had finally noticed. Of course, the payments were failing since I had cancelled the account. That's expected since I've cancelled the account I used for the withdrawals. My ex-husband was speechless. Why should I pay for a place I don't live in? Your lifestyle might downgrade, but you'll have to manage. With your salary, it'll be tough to keep living in that apartment. With that, I hung up. My ex-husband's salary was about half of mine. If he paid the rent, he would hardly have anything left for other expenses. In reality, I had been covering most of the shortfall in our living expenses. Later, my ex-husband pleaded for reconciliation, which I ignored. According to my in-laws, he had quit his job due to discomfort at work and sought refuge at their home, but my father-in-law turned him away. By that time, I had already moved out of my in-laws' place and rented my own apartment. I haven't been in touch with my ex-husband, but I still maintain a good relationship with my in-laws, who occasionally contact me. Seeing my in-laws holding hands, I resolved to find someone with whom I could share a similar bond in the future.